Timmy Joe reviews anything.
Reviewing computer parts on YouTube.
That's
Woo! Gotta be pumped on that, right, Will? Computer parts! Woo!
Oh yeah.
Squiggly wiggly doo! Hi there, my name's Timmy Joe, making videos, freaking actual awesome video card videos on the internet or wherever, whatever happens. Hi! What's up? What's up, guys? It's Timmy Joe, we're back, and I have finally got the dang QUAD SLI working. Okay? And this is not your, this is no easy feat. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of hard work to get even two graphics cards to talk to each other and work well together. Now, this is actually taking it a step further. You're getting two graphics cards that both have their own dual GPU solution to talk in tandem, and there's definitely a really hard road to get there. Now, I apologize, I have a fan on this thing because they're hot. They run hot. You can take them apart, put them back together. We'll look at the insides of them in just a second, but no matter what you do, it's not an easy thing to put two GPUs in a card, especially when you go ahead and think, well, the one blower fan on the 580, well, that's pretty shitty as it is, and the 480s cook themselves, but let's go ahead and put two GPUs on one card and only have one fan. I don't get it. And it's it's a weird situation. So I have a really powerful fan blowing between the two of them to cool the backside. There's some VRM on the backside and stuff, and to just provide a little extra airflow, because I am going to apply just a smidgen of a little bit of an overclock on the 590s in QUAD SLI. And I want to let you know quickly, before we start the video, in case you were having the same problem as me, what I did to get these working. Now, they come out of a system, video cards in it are
dual 590s
that has a socket set like a Q95 something in it, like an Extreme Edition, a quad core from a little bit before, around this era's time. I didn't want to use that system because I wanted to see how it would work with modern hardware. After all, the 590 works with modern APIs. It's Fermi, okay, but it's revamped Fermi that worked a little bit better, and technically these should be able to run modern games, so I wanted to see. And this isn't going to be a big benchmark video. We're going to just load up some games and see how it all works, how it all plays out, because I'm going to let you know right now, it doesn't work well at all, and I would rather have two 580s in SLI, which actually didn't work half bad, and we might visit in another video, than ever have the quad setup on this. Because, number one, these run at a lower clock speed, okay, and now they're talking between each other, and then they're also having to talk between the two GPUs on the single card. It just doesn't make for a very good experience. And even though the numbers might actually look half decent, the gameplay, so far as I could tell so far, has just been absolute crap. So how I got this to work was I ran Driver Cleaner, okay, and that's something you can get on a lot of websites with GPU Guru. It's on there, I think, and you just Google graphics card driver cleaner. It's one of the first results, and then you load that, clean all the drivers, Nvidia drivers, out of your system. Why not do it for ATI or AMD as well? And then start completely fresh. Download the new driver. There might be legacy drivers that actually work better than the current drivers. I didn't try. And I was having a hell of a time getting all the cards to talk to each other. But how I got it to work was I started completely fresh, installed both video cards, put both power connectors on, got a bridge, okay? And I have tried several of them, actually. And then loaded the drivers, and it finally worked to where all of the GPUs were talking to each other. So let's go ahead and check that out here. You can go into... Here, I'll start recording this, actually. Probably be a good idea. Go into NVIDIA control panel, and when you turn the system on, or like it'll reboot after it installs those drivers, you should see that it prompts you to do some SLI goodness. Now, oftentimes, you can install the driver once with one card, add a second card, and the software is smart enough to figure itself out. But in the case of getting 4 of these things to talk to each other, start with a completely blank canvas, put everything in there at once, and hope and pray. Now, I even did this, but with the cards reversed, and it didn't work. All of this green bar at the bottom did not activate all cards together in SLI. You would see either 3 of them working together, and it wanted to use one as a physics, auto select, or sometimes the system would just completely lock up. Where I actually finally figured it out was I made sure both cards worked, and both cards worked in SLI, plugged them in individually, then I started completely from scratch, and I put the better of the two, the cooler of the two in the main slot, and then hooked them up together, and then this SLI connector works. This one that looks fancier and newer didn't work, and the one that's in there, it worked, and I left it in there. So we're good to go. So, yes, it works. Now, these, here, we'll switch back to my quick little, this is going to be a video. It's going to be a video. Barely legal, barely street legal, dual vapor chambers. So, unlike the 4890 that I worked with, or 4870 X2 from ATI a little while ago, or whatever, AMD, there was just like 2 copper blocks. These are actually like, they look like modern CPU coolers inside. There is literally vapor chambers that have little copper heat pipes on either side cooling them, and they're generally balanced fairly well because the fan's in the center and one's pushing this way and one's pushing this way. Now, I would imagine the one exiting the case would work better than the one exiting into the hot case. But, you know, whatever you do, it'll work. It'll work. So, 1024 CUDA cores, a graphics core clock of 607 megahertz, a processor clock of 1215. There's a texture fill rate of 77.7, memory clock of 1707. They each have 3 gigs, there's 3 gigs total. There's only 1.5 gigs per GPU, which severely limits it. You want at least 2 gigs these days. Sharing 3 gigs, you're not going to have a good time. So we see OpenGL support of 4.2, and you can have up to QUAD SLI, which we're running today, and a maximum resolution of not even 4K. You can only go 2560 by 1600 with these things. So they are definitely antiquated. In fact, I will go so far as to say that skip the 5 series. Do not buy even one of these. Even though these are half-decent cards a few years ago, the 580, you're done. Get your, move on to the next. Move on to the 6 series. Even the GTX 660, 660 Ti, 670, all are better cards, much lower power consumption. I'll go on record even saying that here. So we see here that an Antec, they had little dual graphics card. Why I bring this up is, they have some specs and stuff like that, but I liked the pricing chart here. These were $700 each. That's expensive, but for the time, it actually, it's not so bad considering the next dual card solution was the Titan Z, and it was $3,000. So Nvidia was slowly ramping up to that $1,000 mark, and, keeping in mind, in 2011 when these launched, you were paying for both of these cards here together in upwards of $1,400 to get this performance. That's goddamn ridiculous, but I digress. So, you're not here for me to blather about the specs, you're here for me to blather about the games and such and what have you. So, got it hooked up on the Elgato. What you see on the screen here when I'm talking, it's not going to be an exact representation. That's why I'm screen grabbing, I'm screen recording, and I'll upload this video in 60 FPS so we can check out the games. But we're not going to do a benchmark, and I'll do the standard whatever. I'm just going to play some games, and we'll see what my experience is. And I've already made sure that, the card was working for a few things. So, right off the hop, I know that we can go to a 675 megahertz all-core overclock, and the memory might go higher than this, but I didn't really feel comfortable. I just hit 1818, and then we're going to manually set the clock, or the fan speed, which is going to make it audible, to like 70%. With my extra fan in there, I think we should be fine with that overclock. I haven't been having issues. But typically, dual graphics card solutions do not do very well with overclocking. That is for freaking sure. I'm surprised it even works fairly well in this particular situation. So, I already ran Firestrike, and I'm going to tell you, the results will not shock you. The results are not insane or crazy or anything. So I just ran it, and it got a 7131 in Firestrike regular. That's not very good. And what's even more unsettling about that is, look at the graphics score. It's 9600, which actually is very good. That's getting up there near like GTX 1060. You know, that's not bad. But obviously and I have a 7740X running at 5 gigahertz, so it's like a KB like Core i7 running at 5 gigahertz. Should get fairly good, better results than that. Actually, it should be closer to the or over the graphics score number, but it's not because there's so much frame dropping and frame dipping that Firestrike takes that out of the equation, and it ends up having a really low graphics score when we can go back and let's just look at this as my Titan Black. Okay, it's getting a 13,000. That's just a couple generations after this. It's like a 780 Ti is just blowing this thing out of the water. But let's look for a more comparable result. 8059 Intel Core i7, and that's with which graphics processor? A HD 7970 gets the same score in graphics wise as these two cards put together. So I recently tested. I bought a 7970 for $100 on Kijiji. Rethermal pasted it, overclocked it to over a gigahertz, and it was working real well. It's in a system over there, and it gets the same graphics score as 4 of these GPUs working together. So that'll give you an idea of performance. And we see here that the whole total score is 8,509 or 5,059. Blah 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 blah. And it does much better than this. So already we have a pretty good idea of how bad things are looking for this card. It sucks. So can it run Crysis? That's what y'all are here to see, right? Should be pretty good. The Crysis 3 actually. You could run Crysis 1, and I think it would run Crysis 1 probably at max settings. Here, let's see how well she runs Crysis. Alright, we're in Crysis and we're out in the field, and we are getting 124 FPS. It's actually not too bad. Okay, well, not looking so bad. Now we're going to reset our 1% lows here. There we go, 62 frames a second, 1% lows. So we're running at medium settings, and we're already seeing with that overclock, we've got some screen artifacting. That's not good. So before it crashes out, let's lower that overclock a bit. We'll do 650. Remember, this is only going up from 612. So 650 and 1880 on all cores running. I'm going to change the fan speed. Sorry if this is boring. Poof. I'm actually surprised it's running as well as it is. So hopefully that reduces our... No, we're having artifacting still, even at that low. And now we see the GPUs aren't even that hot. They're running at like 55, 60 degrees with that extra little fan in there. And we'll reset our 1% lows. So, probably should have... shoot the... Oh, I don't have any arrows! Ah! So this actually isn't running so bad, but you can see there's a lot of screen tearing. One of the GPUs, I believe, is artifacting, and that's the problem with that. I wonder if that artifacting will go away if we just straight up eliminate the overclock. That hasn't made the fans get any quieter. Alright. Artifacting is definitely still there. So I'm going to shoot these. This is a way too big a gun. Wow! I just took those guys out so hardcore. Alright, we're loading back into Crysis 3 on max settings with quad 590s. Let's see what kind of shake 'em we can make 'em here. Shake 'em, bake 'em. Here we go. This doesn't, and we're still artifacting. So one of my GPUs is still artifacting. It says we're getting 55, 62 frames a second. And all the GPUs are at about 70 to 80 usage. Oh, I should not be stepping there. Oh, I died. I want to get into a little bit of a firefight, and then we'll try another game. Oh, there, I got that thing back. I'm going to shoot the guys in the water again. You guys are so dead. Definitely some crazy artifacting that I haven't seen in other games. So, if I reset the 1% lows, there we go, 22. Very low for your frame times, that is for sure. Oh, he still killed me. So this feels ridiculously laggy. We've got a 16 on the 0.01% low. She's pretty low, and it's choppy, and it's splitting the workload up between 4 older graphics cards, older GPUs. It's not that great an experience. So we'll load up Grand Theft Auto 5 because that's a pretty good one. Actually scales fairly well. And then we'll try 2 very modern games like Far Cry and maybe the some sort of other game. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Let's do that right now, just for fun. We'll run the benchmark in Deus Ex Mankind Divided and see how that works out. And we'll go low settings, because that's obviously the only place we'll be able to go with that. So low, and we don't have any refresh rate. MSAA, we'll just turn that off. And there we go. This is pretty much the lowest settings we can hit in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Oh, here we go. 42 FPS on the lowest of low settings in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Not bad, I guess. I mean, I think a GTX 1050 would run this at medium settings with about the same settings. But you always have that loss of whatever. We have like a combined, what? The clock speed combined in this would be about that equivalent to like a 1080 or a 1080 Ti, so it's pretty hilarious. Mr. Mech Warrior, you've got beautiful nipples. Oh, we are getting quite toasty though. So what's great about this Enermax fan is I can just bump up the speed. See if that affects temperatures at all. It is also like 40 degrees Celsius outside here in Canada right now. So, yeah, that didn't actually do anything. There we go. A little bit too loud. What's my result? You turd? 47.2 FPS with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 67 or 66.7, I should say. That's terrible for low settings. But this game is this game is terribly optimized. Let's move on to Grand Theft Auto. It's all about getting that Grand Theft Auto. 'Cause the boys in the hood are always on. All about getting that GTA. So there's Trevor. Reset our 1% lows there. This is my starting point where I always do my... Oh my goodness, this is lagging like crazy. We see a GPU usage across all the cores, but it's not very well optimized, which is surprising. I've got everything set to very high, which is kind of like high in Grand Theft Auto. And, I mean, the CPU should be able... It's only at 40-50% usage, so it's not like we have a CPU bottleneck here. But this feels sluggish, even though the frame rates say that they're much higher. Oh, God. It's, like, hard to even drive. All my inputs are, like... I know I've got a weird setup going on here, but it's much worse than I've ever experienced. So I like to just get Trevor going here with a little rocket launcher, and I fire it at an ice cream truck and see what happens. Boom! Oh, these police are so dead. You guys want a rocket launcher in the oh, grenade! Oh, just throw it on the ground, Trevor. Ah! Must be one of these GPUs isn't rendering effects quite as efficiently as the others. Oh wait, what's with the lights? Look at the screen tearing on the flickering of the lights. Oh my god, it's absolutely horrendous. But like our frame rate isn't that bad. It's jumping up past 60 a lot of the time. It just feels like I'm in a fish tank while I'm playing it. So it's not very great here. Alright, Far Cry 5 is loaded. Far Cry 5 finished loaded very nicely. But we see that 1.5 gigabytes is not enough to run this game. We're over the limit at 2 gigabytes of usage on low. Heck, it's working. I mean, that's saying something. So we got QUAD SLI working on one of the newest games in 2018, 7 years later, and the results are pretty bad. We had an average FPS of 39, a maximum of 46, and a minimum of 39. But that's not right because we see the 1% for 0.1% low was 5 FPS. So, hey, the game loads, but we see there is some sort of texture problem. And it's happening so intermittently that you can tell it's probably just on one GPU. But we're getting a solid 18 40 FPS, jumping down to 18. Here, reset the 1% lows here. There we go. 23, 25, 37, 22, 18, 6. As soon as I started shooting my gun. So this does not fare well at all in modern games. And the fact that I had to even overclock it a little bit, put this extremely loud fan on it and what have you, you're going to have a bad time. So I might watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. I think that, we did a pretty fun little game here today where we got QUAD SLI working on my test bench, and I'm happy I finally got it working. It turns out that it really only seems to work well if one card specifically is the main card. So there must be, that texture fill problem or that lighting effect problem. It's probably on the secondary GPU, and it's just something doesn't like to work together unless it's in this exact configuration where GPU and what's funny is this looks like the newer of the two GPUs because it actually still has some stuff on it here, some like Tyler's gonna hate me. I borrowed these from my buddy Tyler. Just wanted to give him a little shout out. I could anyways, there's some plastic still on the front of that, but thanks for stopping by my channel. If you want to see the system I took these out of, I will be reviewing, or at least doing an overview of the HP Voodoo system that we took these out of. Now, they're probably not period correct, but someone did an extreme upgrade on this system. But it's a really cool, like, 80-pound system from when HP bought Voodoo. And they started their whole, reclamation of the Voodoo brand and, doing some different stuff. It's actually a pretty cool case. But it's July now. June is over. So we're going to have a massive amount of content this month. It's going to be awesomely sensational. Keep in mind, if you see a longer video, it's probably one like this where we do a deep dive into some older hardware or something. If you see a 6-minute or video or less, it's probably some sort of product showcase. So if that's not your thing, you can skip that. But I'm at Watch Timmy Joe! And I'm going to dismantle this, put it back in the Voodoo case, and we'll have a look at that a little later this week. See you guys later.